Good morning, beautiful souls. Happy Friday. It's week 6, I believe, of the Woodland Chronicles, and I'm sat down here doing my best impression of a duvet this morning, as it is very chilly again. Although the sun is rising even earlier and the birds are pretending it's spring, it still feels very, very cold here in the UK. So, what's been going on, eh? Lovely workshop that I had on the Tuesday with Lord Katumi, or Lord Kathumi, however you pronounce it. It's a bit tomato, how you pronounce his name, but what turned out to be initially, it appeared initially to look as if we were revisiting the episode of the Golden Robe event that I did with Diana Cooper. It turned out to be a very, very different Zoom event altogether. And we did a tour of Lord Katumi's teaching schools in the Inner Plains, or the Sirius universities. And it was very interesting, but also very high frequency. There was a lot of work done in a short space of time. If you didn't attend and you want to check it out, I'll put the link in the link for the recording in the text underneath the video. And Lord Katumi was making it very, very kind of plain that the majority of us here on this planet are always doing something at night. Okay, so we don't simply go to sleep and switch off and that's it. Our soul leaves the body, as you will inevitably know, and goes about its nighttime business, whatever we do. And in many cases we are, as well as embarking upon our mission upon this planet, we are learning still. We are students of the universe. However we educate ourselves is down to our soul contract. So there are 12 teaching schools that Lord Kathumi oversees in the Sirius realms. One of them being the School of Unconditional Love. There's another one which, and this is a very, very popular course for those of us here on Earth, the Hall of Crystal Technology, or Science and Crystal Technology. So many of us that are drawn to crystals, and that we love that connection. We're learning about them. We're still learning about them. We're doing a high frequency curriculum at night time, which we then bring through and we apply consciously and subconsciously to the work that we're doing, and that comes through as a conscious process. We think we've had a light bulb moment, but in actual fact this is information that we already know that is flowing through us. And there's the Hall of Nature and many others as well, and all of this is to teach aspects of what we are going to be engaging with when we go about our incarnations, be it on planet Earth or be it in other learning zones throughout the universe. But most importantly, Kathumi was highlighting the fact that although the members of the Golden Robe are now standing ready to receive this new wave of awakening, the new souls that are joining us this year, many of us that have been on the pathway for a while now, and when I say a while, I do really mean in kind of like a short spectrum of time, because many of you listening to this now will have woken up in the last 3 years. But what I find so incredible, that even though that wake up time frame is remarkably short, there are so many that are ready to step up and start teaching now. So I want to talk a little bit about being a teacher, stepping up to being a teacher this morning. And that kind of just puts it in a box, basically. Many of us are already teaching by the way that we live our lives, the words that we speak, the light that shines from our heart centers, and the way that we engage with others, the activities that we turn our attention to, the things that we post and that we share on social media. Anybody who coming to you that learns something, then you immediately get that student and teacher kind of scenario. But taking an active role as a teacher is a different matter altogether. Okay, now many of you will be feeling the urge to do this already, and you will be going through a set of protocols energetically. When you decide to become a teacher, when you actively take that mantle of responsibility on, you are put through a set of gateways to make sure that you are first of all ready to impart the information from a place of love, and secondly that you are ready for the quantity of attention that is going to be turned to you, because everything is energy. All of the exchanges that we have are a contract of energy between the two of us. Words are spells. Okay, so we are casting spells with every sentence that we articulate, that we put together. So how are you going to teach? What is your teaching format? What has inspired you to be a teacher? Or are you simply going about your everyday business, living a good life on this planet, holding your heart open, and therefore setting the perfect example to many others to follow suit? So the role of teacher is, I mean, if you look in any dictionary, a teacher, like, I've got a little story to tell. When my mother was pregnant with me many moons ago, probably back in the early 1970s, she was part of a transcendental meditation group. Now, back in those days, they'd have a yogi, or somebody that kind of led, or like a bit of a guru. And at that particular time, I think she was about 3 months pregnant with me, my mum was told that she was bringing through a teacher. Now, my mum was in teacher training school at that time. Okay, first of all she became a primary school teacher, which that's what she did for the majority of my childhood. When I was a bit older, she became an Ofsted inspector. Now, an Ofsted inspector works for the government, and they go around checking that schools are up to scratch, and most schools are terrified of Ofsted inspectors. So her job transformed, but what she thought when she was given that information was, oh good, great, my child's going to come through and do what I do. It's a respectable job to do. You teach children, you work in a school, you bring it up. So at that particular time, there was no real knowledge of what type of teacher I would be. So I do regard myself as an Ascension teacher or guide. So I present a format of energy, or I analyse situations and information and put them in a palatable or a digestible form. That's my form of teaching, to simplify things, to take what could actually feel and seem very complicated, break it down into structures that are easy to take in and therefore act upon. So the premise of all teachings is to be acted upon, to take the information, to turn it into a personal thing and then act upon it. So once you've learnt the facets of whatever you're being taught, you then employ that curriculum in your everyday life. Okay, do you see where I'm going with this? So if you are thinking of stepping up to be a teacher, if you want people to hear your words, to feel your vibration, first of all, be ready for the attention that comes to you, because people will bead into what you've got to say. That will then go through their own filters as to whether it rings true for them or not, whether it's working for them, whether it's what they want to hear. And then they will either continue to listen to you because that's what they are drawn to, or they will go about finding information that resonates with them from another source. So that generally is how it all begins. And we're greatly assisted nowadays by social media. Social media allows us to be whatever we want to be, and we can present that version of ourselves readily online every day. And you see this a lot on Instagram. There's this huge rise in people that are, it's more, I think on social media it's more known as influencers. So and these people are sometimes even paid by companies to be a certain way, to wear a certain product, to say certain things, and their posts and their information then influence the behaviour of the people that are following them. Now, in many cases, that is out of integrity. It's not aligned with integrity, it's aligned with the wishes of the companies that are wishing to sell stuff, or even bigger kind of corporations and governments. So I'm not talking about teaching in that aspect. I'm talking about stepping up to teach what you have incarnated here to do. And that's a big difference. So it can all begin on social media. It can all begin with having a persona that you present online. Like, I am Tim, you know, I've formed myself into Tim Wilde Practical Ascension. And my thing is, like I said just a minute ago, breaking down what can be quite complicated into something which is understandable. But you might be something different. You might be feeling that you want to teach your method of healing, or how you work with crystals, or your connection to an aspect of the starseed community, or you might well identify as a powerful aspect of Atlantean energy that's coming through to you due to a previous incarnation, memories, things that have been given to you, or you might have memories of your Lemurian past. And sometimes these aspects begin to glow very brightly at the point in which your soul has designated for you to step up, and it will come through. It will be powerful. In some ways, can be quite overwhelming. I can remember in 2015 when I was first really reconnecting to my Atlantean roots, and I found it quite difficult to live everyday life because my memories and my connections to Atlantis were so strong that I felt that I had one foot in Atlantis and one foot in Dorset, UK on a daily basis, and I felt pulled between the two. I felt so almost kind of overwhelmed by my memories and my love of this place, but then also the connection and the DNA programming that happened to all of us at the fall of Atlantis, that it became very confusing. So I created something called the Crystalline Codes of Atlantis in 2015. This is available in my Zoom library, which circumnavigated the period between the fall of Atlantis to now, to miss out all of the dark, dense stuff, go for the high frequency stuff, and embody and activate that. Because we naturally process the shadow aspects when we start bringing in this light. They come up to the surface regardless, and we have to face them. But in my experience at that time, I was meeting traumatized Atlantean after traumatized Atlantean that was caught in the continuous kind of washing machine cycle of going through what happened at the fall, and I considered that at the time counterproductive. It was creating almost a trap. So I decided to teach that initially, and that was what I was bringing through, and that is still a very large aspect of what I teach today, but I infuse my Atlantean aspect in with what I am teaching now, and the two are incredibly importantly married together. We're ultimately creating a planet-wide golden Atlantis with the Atlantean community gold print that is spreading out. And that trigger, or that naval activation, began in February 2020 when the beam started pulsing out around the world, and everybody's naval chakras, whether they're awake or not, started to pulse, started to beacon at this frequency. And of course, we all know what happened in February and March 2020. The world began to change. It was one of the most powerful movements of energy that I've ever witnessed. But I've digressed slightly. What I was saying is that my teaching, or my method, or my information, or the persona that I present online changed. I streamlined it to make sure that it is as understandable as possible. So, for those of you that are wishing to teach, wishing to step up, step one, be your authentic self, okay? I believe one of the most important things at the moment is to be as authentic as possible. not to give a veneer that you believe that other people will feel is acceptable, but to be you. Because at some point along the line, that mask, that false version of you will slip, and people will see it. And ultimately, at the moment, our radars for inauthenticity is very strong. We've seen what inauthentic looks like, because we've seen exactly what the powers that aren't around the world have been doing for the last 3 years, and that's given everybody a very clear aversion to what is truth and what is not truth. And we can see it in the media, we can see it kind of being pumped out in every direction at us, and I do believe that light workers have got quite a strong aversion to this now. So always be your authentic you, always, okay? And those that are ready to receive your message and your vibration will be drawn to you, and because you will key, you will code, and you will resonate, and you will chime at that frequency. Secondly, pick what you love, okay? It's no good picking a subject because it may be popular and then not really knowing the full depth and scope of what it is you're teaching. Teach what you love, the passion, your drive, the thing that lights you up, the thing about your spiritual pathway that actually makes your heart light up and makes it glow. You will know what that is, because it will probably be the one thing that drew you to the spiritual pathway in the first place. For me, it was crystals. So initially, like, everybody loves crystals. It's a bit like cake, isn't it? Everybody likes cake too, sort of thing. And so I was drawn to crystals like a bear to honey kind of thing, and that's how I began to work. That's how I began to expand the information that's coming in. So my initial connection with the spiritual pathway, crystals, healing, Atlantis, and all of those subjects just they light me up. I could talk about them all day. And so you will have something that you love that is unique to you. It could be the exact same subjects that I've just mentioned, but it will be through your filter, it will be through your format, it will be through your own teaching curriculum that your soul has programmed you with for the purposes of this incarnation. Follow that love, okay, without fault, to the letter, because you will know what it is. And if you are destined to step up, if you are destined to speak to people publicly or do it online, or however you're going to do it, follow that, okay? That is an urge and a flow that will become very obvious to you. And here's another funny part of the story. I mean, I would regard myself as a comfortable or a competent public speaker, but in 2014 I had my first public talk with the lovely Jackie White in Southampton, in front of 30 people at a positive living group, which is when the local area come and see different speakers, and each kind of town in the UK has got a positive living group of some variety. And I have never been more terrified in all my life than when I had to stand up and speak. But when I actually did, I chose to speak about something that I love, and within minutes I was in flow, and what I was speaking about was just coming through, and people listened. And so I repeated that process when I go to speak to a group, be it big or large, or be it a day workshop or an evening talk or a seminar or anything. I will always make notes, okay? I'll always write down what I think I should be talking about, and not once in all the countless talks that I've done now have I ever followed those notes. I might have kind of gone along the structure, but I will never pay any attention to what I wrote down about what I actually should be talking about. I gauge it on the energy of the people attending, the energy of the day, and what I'm guided. So follow your guidance, okay? Don't be too strict with yourself. Allow yourself to be creative, to flow. But you will know what it is, and this is going to be a year of teachers, because if you think about all of these souls that we have been promised to join us this year, Who's going to guide them? Imagine waking up and bang, you're awake, and the energies have woken you up, or something you've seen's woken you up, and you've got no real point of reference. Immediately your first action is to go and seek somebody who knows what is going on, somebody that is going to teach and to guide and to be there. So we are all needed. Okay, and this also ties in very much with the wearing the new facet of the golden robe that is coming through, being bolsters for the light field, being strong, being true, being heart-set, being anchored in that mighty I am presence. We need to be visible. Okay, we need to be visible. We need to be brightly lit so others can see us and they can come immediately like a ship on a stormy sea to the shores. And the first thing that the skipper can see is the lighthouse. That is very much what waking up is like at the moment, being tossed about on the stormy sea, and then wow, I can see something that will bring me knowledge, sanctity, groundedness, safety, and speak words that are calming and understanding, but also filled with knowledge. So there it is. And I just want to also touch a little bit, or just very, very briefly, on the kind of the stuff that's being shared on social media at the moment. Keep it positive. Okay, there's an awful lot of people that are kicking off about the new conditions that are being brought in by the 3D matrix. They do not matter. Okay, that circus act will grumble on until it has no more power, no more diesel left. And they are trying all sorts to draw people in. If you look in the comments, there are literally hundreds and thousands of people spelling their negativity out and creating yet more of this field of drama to add to it. Keep your words positive, okay, at all times. Keep your thoughts as high frequency as you possibly can. Thought, manifestation, reality. Or is as soon as your attention goes into intention and it flows in the direction of manifestation, what are you sending out? What are you thinking? What are you speaking? What are you becoming part of? But that's something that I've spoken. That's something I've pointed out many times before. So beautiful teachers of the light, in whatever way that you're planning to step up, be it behind the scenes, holding that huge light field, or whether you're actually going to be a voice that people hear. Choose what you love, okay? What lights you up like a sparkly Christmas tree with a unicorn on top. Make sure that it's bright, make sure that it's high frequency, heart-centered, heart-led, because the world needs teachers. And also the world needs more love, okay? And that love is coming through in abundance through all of us, so let's get ready to share it. Sending you all my love from my heart to yours, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.